Good evening and welcome to the January 22nd meeting of the Board of Selectmen. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And welcome for those who have joined or those who have tuned in. A couple of announcements. As most everybody knows, we've lost one of the legends in town. Willis Lord passed away recently. And our thoughts and prayers go out to the family. I think probably spend the rest of the evening talking about Willis, but kind of forego that. And all I can say is if there was an elected, well, I can't say that because I don't think he was ever town clerk, right? But I think he was everything else in town at one time or another. So again, we want to extend our prayers and sympathies with the family of Willis Lord. Also understand that earlier this month, Henry Knight, who was a long time resident of Waterboro, passed, and again, extend our sympathies to his family. Any other announcements, folks? We have no appointments tonight. Hearing a delegation, unless Mike or Dwayne want to speak. Correspondence, weekly treasurer's financial reports, Representative Libby's newsletter, or e-newsletter, motor vehicle agent, say that 3 times fast. December 2012 report. 12 town group meeting was last night. I'm sure Tammy Jo will fill us in on that. RSU 57 State of Our Schools report for 2012. 2013 Maine Municipal Association municipal member dues and service program info. And then the Bureau of Motor Vehicles inventory audit report is also included. So if you'd like to read a copy of those, I'm sure that you can make a call here to the town office and talk to Christina, and she will be more than willing to get you a copy. Reports and staff initiatives, incomes. What timing? Code officer, you are up.
Already?
Yeah, already.
It's fast. Good evening. I'll speak a little louder tonight. Frank Allen said to speak up, so I'm going to speak up this time. I'm here tonight. I was hoping the contractor would be here. I told him to be here at 6:15, so
Okay.
he could be walking in any minute.
Do you want to wait until he shows up?
I think I can lay the groundwork, and if he walks in with his checkbook, maybe.
Okay, we can let Mike go first if you want.
Would you like to go first, Mike?
No, it doesn't matter.
Go ahead, Mike.
Be my guest.
Because you know,
You can throw me off if you want to.
he's going to the contractor's going to have to represent himself, I think. not
Thanks,
him.
Mark. I
And
appreciate
believe
it.
me, Mike will take up enough
I got
time.
plenty of time, yeah. I appreciate it, Board of Selectmen. Thanks for having me up again tonight, and certainly got to mention Willis's importance to the Parks and Rec Department and Barbara. Was on the hiring panel that sat down with me in 2001 of March, and I'll be celebrating my 13th year in the position. And Willis was very supportive throughout the entire time. He was part of the group that approved our building of that basketball court down at Friendship Park, which has been a great thing for us to do with just money that we collected over a few years of additional revenues. Beautiful basketball court, still there. It should last us a very long time. So Mr. Lord certainly was an important part of everything that's taken place with this department. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a second when I discuss some revenues. Another announcement, flu shots. I sent out an email the other day. It's been a very difficult season for the flu. I've got 30 kids next door twice a day and about 6 hours worth of that. There wasn't a single pharmacy, Hannaford, Rite Aid, or CVS within 25 miles that had a flu shot for about 2.5 weeks. Hannaford the other day when I sent that email, Christina responded to, finally got another shipment of flu shots in, so it's not too late, go get a flu shot. If you, unless you're Tammy, who seems to be immune anyway, and doesn't need one. So that's good news that Hannaford's back in business with that. I made several calls that day, and truly, Buxton, Cornish, Sanford, and good for all, and so forth. We're all out of flu shots for a good 10, 11 days. So getting to business of the recreation, we had our end of the year basketball parties right before Christmas, December 22, 16 teams this year, plus a group of 22 cheerleaders for a total of 169 athletes participating in our programs, and we had trophies and pizza parties, and we had a nice day there. And now we're into our travel season. We've got 5 teams going right now, probably playing an average of 15 games, and we'll finish our season with our annual tournament at the end of February and into early March. We've done a few trips with our vehicle next door. We went to Oxford Casino a couple of times. We saw a movie, went out to lunch. We had a play scheduled that we were going to go to tomorrow, but we just didn't sell enough tickets for that. And there's a burden there of having to buy them in advance. So rather than get stuck with $400 worth of theater tickets, we canceled that trip. And we'll get ourselves into the spring, and we'll start doing stuff that we know that we won't have a hard time filling up and have to burden ourselves with a bill unnecessarily. Luncheons were great this year. We finished them up in November, right before Thanksgiving. We'll be back at them on May 9th, at the Snow Club on Thursdays. Had a great season of doing that. Waterboro Association of Businesses showed up and sponsored our final luncheon of the season. Had a lot of turnout for that from local business leaders and so forth. Came down and helped serve meals. And looking forward to doing that again next year. It's been a great program. Willis was a big part of that too. Helped get that going, establish it. He attended a lot of them from 2000 till 2008 or 9, when he was more able to get around a little bit better. So that's been a nice thing for the department to carry on. Revenue expenses, I have a new revenue expense report. I don't know if you guys have your financials in front of you, but we're having a pretty good year. We're right on pace revenue-wise as to where we were on this day last year. We were right at about $76,000 in revenues year-to-date on January 19th, and with today's deposit, we're exactly at that number as well. And we finished last year with $165,000 in revenues collected. Expenses, we're at about 60% spent, 58% spent. Certainly a big piece of that happens in July and August when our camps are going. So we've gotten through the bulk of those, as we discussed in our first budget meeting a few months ago. And we can get deeper into that. I see that you guys are trying to schedule another budget review gig. So unless you want to talk a little bit more about that, we can. There's a playground safety certification class that I'm interested in attending, and there's money in the budget under the training piece. It's $475 for that. We've got $606 left on the training item, and it's a 2-day seminar followed by an exam. I think it's probably time for me to do that, make certain that we're not getting ourselves into any liability issues, and keep our kids safe at our playgrounds. So that'll be taking place at the end of February. It's a 2-day seminar followed by a half-a-day exam. I think it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday gig, and I've got the paperwork next door. And a lot of rec professionals and directors are part of that. Many of them have already been certified, and every 2 or 3 years you can just go and take the exam rather than having to take the course. And I think the exam's $100. So certainly affordable and well worth our time to make certain that we don't get ourselves into any issues that could end up costing us more money. I think the playground down there was installed in '99, is that right? Something like that, 99, 2000, by our previous director with some volunteers. It's a beautiful piece of equipment, still in very good shape. Try to take care of it and clean it up from time to time. It's probably a $30,000 piece of equipment if you bought it brand new today. I think we bought it for $13,000 or $14,000 about 15 years ago. So that's something that's pretty important. And that's about all I have.
Okay.
I made a revenue chart, just show you what's taken place over the last 13 years. department-wise, and certainly we've grown a lot since that time. I'll stack it up over here for a minute. If I'm dated, probably can't see it. So in 2001, we came on board, and the department had collected $46,000 in revenues that year, and was quickly expanded some of the existing programs that we had, our summer camps. Basically, it was just our summer camps that were growing at that time with a population increase. So we cranked it up to about $70,000 for a couple of years after that. And then we reached a period where we really weren't doing anything else, and we kind of stagnated at about $100,000 worth of revenues in those middle 2000 years. We went through a terrible recessionary period in town, and of course it affected everybody's revenues as well as ours, and we sank ourselves back down to about $84,000 in revenues generated. And then we shot way back up, excuse me, we shot way back up to $168,000 in revenues the year after that. And we matched that total basically last year, just a hair under at about 165. And currently, as I mentioned, we're at $76,000 year to date right now, exactly on pace to where we were at this time last year. So if all things are equal, heading into our heavy revenue period in May and June, we'll probably realize some total in the neighborhood of above 150, which is what we've budgeted for this fiscal year. I think 151 was our revenue target for this year. And it was that last year too. We exceeded it by 14,000, and we had about $7,000 or $8,000 left over in expenses that we didn't spend. So we returned in the neighborhood of 20,000, 21,000. I don't think the audits come back yet for last year. We'll see it in the town report when we head into town meeting in June. So all in all, revenues are pretty good. If you break it down, I just came up with a little statistic here. Non-seasonal houses, and you put that number at about 2,500 in the town of Waterboro. Essentially, every house in town is providing us with $66 in revenues. That would be, if we did nothing and just asked each home for $66, it would take that amount for us to get up to $165,000 worth of revenues. It's really a staggering number for such a small town. And I think David is, and I have spoke a little bit about, the fact that we're taking in so much money for such a limited amount of residents. And the taxation average, the amount that we've spent asking the residents to fund our apartment from taxation dollars only, is averaged out in that same 13-year time period to about $66,000. So we find ourselves with an average revenue base in here between the 46 and the 106 at about 95, 100 over the 13-year stretch, and we've only asked the residents for about 66. With that 66, we managed to build a basketball court that I mentioned from revenues, not asking for additional money at town meeting or any specials. And we also had a petition was raised in 2000 to provide $20,000 worth of funding to build a new ball field. It was subject to a grant. It was subject to a grant approval, and my predecessor had applied for one, and the way that it shook out, the townspeople approved the $20,000, and it wasn't contingent on anything. But the goal of it was to get that grant and build another ball field down at Friendship Park. The state didn't like the plan, we got denied that. So we sat there with $20,000 and decided that we would build a multi-purpose field anyway, which we did, and it's now our soccer field that we fenced in a few years ago right next to the snow club. So we were able to do all that with limited funds and keep the public pretty happy. Okay, have a nice day. Anything? Anything? Question?
I think the rest will take you on during the budget reviews. All right. That being said, Mark, the floor is yours again.
Mark Mitchell, the code officer. I'm here tonight to give you a little background information on a foundation that was, well, the whole house actually got put too close to the Ossipee Hill Road. That, in zoning, that's the AR district, which requires a 75-foot front yard setback from the front property line to the foundation, is when they pour it. Somehow it got 66 feet from the front property line, and the contractors here will hear from him how that happened. In that district, I've got a couple pictures here so you can get a feel for what the situation looks like. It's not exactly on the top of the road or anything. That's exactly what these are different pictures. I took those pictures this afternoon to give you an idea of what we're looking at, what we're talking about. Like I said, it's not really on top of the pavement. It's pretty much as far back as a home would be in the shoreline zone from a lake.
Is this the same residents that they were having issues with the driveway permit with the road commissioner?
We did, and that was solved
Okay.
to his satisfaction a while back. We always make the driveway permits, the completion of those subject to, part of the occupancy permit approval process. If it doesn't get approved by the road commissioner, then they don't get it. So it's been taken care of.
Does the land drop off behind the house there?
It drops off radically behind the
So
house.
is that why it's set, it doesn't meet the setback?
I wouldn't use that as an excuse. It would certainly be more difficult. I guess that's going to be a question for Mr.
Okay.
Waterhouse. We'll be up here just a minute. We did. I guess the good thing is, I'm assuming that since this was discovered during a mortgage survey that was required for a closing on the house that was scheduled to be closed on last Friday, and so any fines or penalty amounts that you folks might find appropriate won't be charged to a new homeowner, but they're going to come out of the contractor's pocket. So it's not a fee that's going to get passed on to some poor young new couple that's buying their first home. So I guess I would call it a good thing. So we did learn about this Friday afternoon. We got things moving quickly to try and help the new homeowners who probably had their heart set on moving in on the closing date. Like I said, that the setback was supposed to be 75 feet. Somehow it got to be 66 feet. I think you all have a copy of the agreement that we put together. In case you decide, of course you have to vote, but in case you decide, that's for you. And,
How does this work? I mean,
this
they know the guidelines. Okay, I mean, you don't have to go out and measure off 75 feet and drive a pin in. That's their responsibility. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Maybe it's time to have the contractor step up.
Okay. Mr.
I
Waterhouse.
don't think you're representing him here tonight, right?
No.
No.
I'm Josh Waterhouse, DW Group,
Thank
owner of the property.
So tell us how you made a 9-foot mistake.
I'm not entirely sure. When we originally staked out the property was wooded. Went in and cleared the property, and I did not recheck the stakes after the property was cleared. I think that's when the mistake occurred. But again, ultimately, it's my fault, and I built about 115 homes, and this is the first time I've ever ran into this. I'm not really sure how this happened. And with regards to a previous question on the slope of the land is at the same pitch going away from the road, so it didn't impact where we put the house. We still had to bring fill in to take care of the pitch going away from the road. So I think it was just a mistake on my part of not rechecking my stakes once the lot was cleared. And I didn't find out about this till Friday, so it was quite a surprise.
If you put that 9 feet further back in the first place, what would that mean as far as building the house with that precipitous drop in the back? Would you have been able to build it if you were 9 feet back?
The pitch of the road is consistent going away from the road. It wasn't a flat place then a drop off. It was basically like I don't know what the exact slope was, but it tapering away from the road. So when we put the house in, we put fill around it to give some sort of a side lawn. So the only change with putting it 9 feet back would be a longer driveway. And
Would you have to put fill in there in order to do it? A lot of fill.
it'd be roughly the same amount of fill.
Pretty expensive.
It was expensive to build a house. We're not really making anything on this house, just keeping guys working.
David, you had a question?
No, I just don't like the setup,
Well, I mean,
you know.
you know, I guess where John's headed, if the land was truly part of the problem, then certainly could have come before the zoning board of appeals and requested a variance, and if in fact it met the criteria for that. I'm not sure that it did. And I'm not sure, I guess my question would have been, how many houses have you built? Because ultimately, it's your responsibility. And, you know, we've had houses in this town moved 9 feet rather than giving up, you know, consent orders. So, this is not something that, and I agree with David, I think where he's coming is I think this is, you know, a last resort kind of thing. And I certainly empathize with your plight in that, you know, you got razor-thin margins, but if you get that razor-thin margins, I guess it would pay you to get out with a tape measure to make sure that you're 75 feet back.
Yeah, the house is selling for $155,000, and you know, in this economy, we build quite a few homes, and we're just trying to keep our guys working.
Yeah, understand that, but how much would it have cost you to head, you know, a surveyor to go back up and put the stakes? You know?
Costs $200.
Okay, so you're not gonna walk out of here tonight for $200, I can probably assure you that.
Yep, I understand that.
So,
You know, this is not something I look forward to doing, and I am unsure how it happened.
any questions?
How long have you been in business?
8 years.
Are you like the owner of the company?
Mm-hmm.
Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I'm 32.
So pretty young.
Yep. Yep, we built about, like I said, I think it's around 112, 114 homes in the area. We built probably about 25 or so in Waterboro over the last 8 years.
Did you do
So,
the development
yeah.
up on Deering Ridge Road recently?
Yep, yes I did.
And so what lesson did you learn out of this?
The $200 sounds quite well right now. We'll be rechecking our stakes after we clear lots from now on.
Gordon, any questions?
I kind of like the refreshed ability of you coming in here and saying that you know, you're at fault right off. There wasn't any hedging or backpedaling or trying to shuffle it off. That was refreshing. What bothers me is why do we find out from the bank that the error took place? And why I say this is under a previous CEO, there was a similar occurrence of a line where it was discovered by the bank, and to me that doesn't sit well when we have someone in the banking business that discovers a mistake that should have been picked up, I think, either by the contractor or perhaps during an inspection by our own CEO. So that's a little, something I think that we're probably gonna have to look at too, but,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never had a code enforcement officer ever be responsible for a survey or setbacks, because in order to do that, you'd have to have a actual surveyor come out. That would cause the town to have liability on making sure houses would be in the right position, and it's supposed to be the contractor's responsibility.
Well, I think to Gordon's point, years ago, we had had this discussion earlier with Mark, but there was a raft of these that, I won't say they weren't contractors that didn't care, but there seemed to be frequently missing the target. And I think we put a clause in the original, or the first site visit by the code officer, that the delineation had to be specifically laid out. Not that he was responsible for it, but it was one of those things that he at least asked that question, are you sure? And sometimes that's all that needs to be done is, are you sure? I'm not in any way saying that the code officer in the town of Waterboro is responsible for setbacks, because that's not his role. But we did, and I think that kind of got waved on, because you've had many CEOs since that point, but it was probably in the late 80s, I think, that this was a weekly occurrence. We had contractors standing in front of us asking for a consent order. So, to your point, Gordon, I think, okay, there might be something that Mark could at least ask for a question, but not Mark's responsibility, really.
You also had it back then too, that if a builder come in 3 times,
Yeah.
the 4th time, he'd have to have a Class A survey before a building permit would be issued.
So, not to tie this gentleman up, but we ought to revisit some of that stuff in anticipation that we might have a little building boom start here as the economy resolves itself. So, Mark, you had a recommendation for the board on the now and therefore?
Actually, it was Mr. Waterhouse's attorney, in his letter. We were swapping emails back and forth on Friday, and his attorney laid out 3 options of ways to cure this, and the best one being the option that we're pursuing now. And he told Josh in that letter that usually this penalty for most municipalities has run around $2,000, so I picked that amount as penalty to cure this issue.
So that's your recommendation?
My recommendation.
Your recommendation? Any discussion on that?
Say 2?
Yeah.
It's up to you folks.
What's
I
your
mean,
pleasure?
Dave talks about selling out. The other option is say move it. You don't get the payoff, you move it.
I guess, I think that this was an honest mistake. I don't think that this was deliberately done for a contractor to, make a couple of bucks. And I, like Gordon, appreciate his honesty of, that's gotta be pretty hard standing here in front of us and admitting on TV and whatnot that you made a mistake and you're gonna eat it.
You did know you were on TV, right?
There goes the sockle.
So whereas, it seems like this is the first time that we've had him here, I think that he's learned a very valuable lesson as a young business owner on double checking, triple checking your work if necessary. And I don't think that we'll be seeing him before this board again. So I would make a motion that we approve the consent order with a fine of $2,000.
Do I have a second?
I hate it. Well.
Do I have a second?
Yeah.
second for discussion.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded. David?
I have an issue of taking the lawyer's price, you know? I don't think it's enough. But that's just my opinion.
Gordon?
Obviously, his lawyer's working for him, he's not working for the town, but we work for the town, so I think that it's up to us to set what the price is, and I agree with David on that aspect. I think there was a violation of a cardinal rule of a carpenter, is that you, measure twice and cut once? Isn't that what it is? So we didn't get the second measure here, and although I agree with Tammy's assessment of here we have a young businessman that has to date anyway, has a good track record, and I think that should account for something. And his obvious honesty in coming forward. I mean, it's certainly an embarrassment, and with some people watching, it's certainly not a good product endorsement if he was going to make a commercial out of this for building in new homes. So I think we can temper our decision somewhere between what his attorney came up with and the figure that we ultimately decide on.
John?
I mean, you can see that this was a mistake. And you just didn't measure it right, I find it hard to just kind of think, God, just a measuring tape, go back 75 feet, put it back one more foot in case you screw up. But then if you do that, and you think, geez, I got $15,000 worth of fill that I got to put in here if I back it up 9 feet, or I've got to do a whole different type of construction. It's going to cost a heck of a lot more than $2,000 worth of construction cost or fill cost. So one can take a kind of a nasty look at this, and I'm not by any means, I'm not going there. But there's always the possibility that that 60, we'll take our chances with 66 feet, and hope we don't bump into anything here. So $2,000 seems like a pretty light bailout for a mistake that is 9 feet. It's a 15-20% mistake, So I couldn't go with $2,000. I mean, to see something that hurt more than that hurt at the level of what would it cost you to build that house 9 feet back than where it is now. And that's what it probably ought to cost and fine.
All right, any other discussion? Because we have a motion. I haven't heard any other number.
What would be the cost of moving that house back 9 feet?
Yeah.
If it was a decision of the board to say move it, what would it cost you?
I don't think that's even, I wouldn't answer it if I was there. I don't know if you need it. I think we need to defeat this motion and then come back with a figure. That's
Or amend this motion. I mean, if somebody got a different number, then I'd take an amendment to the motion to increase the fine. But let me get Mark first.
I sense a little confusion over the way Josh, our house, described where the house sits. It is let's just, for the sake of ease of conversation, let's say it's 45 degrees. It may be 30, it may be 60, I don't know. But if it's an even 45 degrees for a very, very long ways, if you build the house here, or you build the house way down here at the bottom of the hill, it's gonna be the same amount of fill. Whether it's way down here or right here, it's gonna be the same amount of fill.
It's just a longer
But
driveway.
you got a driveway dropping
Yeah.
off into a garage, or you got to put that, you gotta put fill in there to get that house up, so you don't drop off into the garage, right? I mean, you could have it could be a
Build the
steep
house
drop.
here, or way down here, if it's a perfectly
Yeah.
smooth.
I think
it's gonna
the
be same
misnomer
amount of
here
fill.
was the fill really is in and around the foundation. It's not from the road to the house, right? I mean, it's
Right,
not
they
like,
didn't fill from, and the other thing that, and I'm not trying to act in defense of the contractor, but it's probably a 2-rod road with a 66-foot wide right of way. Then you have a 24-foot wide paved road in there, and they don't always go down the middle. So when people go to measure a lot line, you can't measure from the pavement. You need to measure from the front lot line, and that may be 20 feet from the pavement. Some places in town, it may be 6 feet from the pavement. He blew it, he admitted it, but I just wanted you to understand that I don't think anyone would make that mistake on purpose to try and save a few yards of fill, because it was the same amount of fill for up here as it would be down here. So, thank you.
thanks, Mark. I sent you have a number.
$5,000.
Anybody want to second an amendment to increase the fine to 5,000?
I'll second
Okay. Been moved and seconded to amend the consent order dollar amount from the original stated 2 to amended 5. Any discussion on the amendment?
I would just, for the purpose of the discussion, try to understand what his rationale was coming up with that particular figure. The question that I asked was, that you said that you wouldn't answer, was at least an attempt to try to find a number that we could work from in comparison to what was offered by his side, and to determine an equitable fine within that range. So I just don't know where you got the 5,000 number, whether it was just something that you arbitrarily picked as what you think is appropriate, or is it based on some calculations you were doing in your head that we don't know about?
No, when I read this, that was the figure I came up with before the $2,000 came up. I think this is a major FUPA on their part, you know, and I think we need to set some precedents.
I guess my thought in agreeing with the 2,000, and our CEO even came forward with that amount, is that we've had instances since I've been on the board where people have come in and built structures deliberately in violation and have seen fines that are in the area of $2,000 or more. I don't think this is a deliberate act, and so that's not because that's what his attorney suggested, but that is a number that our CEO threw out as well, and whereas this wasn't a deliberate act. If this was not the first time we'd seen him, if he had a history of this, I would be more in line with the $5,000.
I remember a couple at 10,000.
Right.
That
You
would
know,
be,
that we assessed $10,000. That was, now it was different. I think it was a porch, and it was a matter of 1.5 feet or something like that. But we thought it was done on purpose, and I just think where I went with the 5 as a second. I think it's got to hurt a little bit. I don't think 2,000 on a sale of a home hurts that much, and there's a little more of a sting to the 5,000.
Depends on which side of the fence you're on there, right, whether it hurts or not. But no, I told Mark that I remember back in the '80s where we had people actually lift houses up and move foundations because we were going to hit them for $10,000, and
One of them moved the whole house.
right, they moved the whole house. So it's not, I would lean more towards the 5 than I would the 2, but we'll see how this rolls. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the amended motion on the dollar amount? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, the new amended motion would be to approve the consent order with the, let me make sure I get the right section. Now and therefore, item 2, the property owner agrees to pay the town and penalty in lieu of legal action in the amount of $5,000. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Get a consent order, but it's gonna cost you $5,000. All right? Moving on. Anything else, Bart? You all set?
Yeah, I think I'm all set.
Okay, all right. All right, we've gone through code officer, Parks and Rec, road commissioner is not here. Selectmen's reports. Start down with David.
Nothing.
John. Gordon. Selectmen's report. Tammy Jo.
Had the 12-town group meeting last night. Actually, was probably one of the better attended meetings that we've had in a while, but there were a couple of topics on here that I think are really catching the attention of municipalities. First issue was the rural patrol issue. Couple things that are new with that since the last time I talked about it. Commissioner Dutrumbull, actually in a commissioner's meeting, has made a recommendation that the commissioner should begin the process of working on presentation of legislation requiring that if a York County town has a certain population, they are required to contract for a deputy.
Required what?
To contract for a deputy. So this is above and beyond what started that was Greg Zinsser brought up to the commissioners the proposal that Barry Tibbetts has put out. That led to a conversation where now the commissioners are looking at proposing legislation requiring that towns, and they have not in any of their minutes noted what that magic population number is, but looking at starting to formulate something that requires some towns have contract deputies. So something that we're certainly going to have to pay attention to. The commissioners are feeling that they could get a lot of support in York County for that from, these larger towns that do have police departments. So, thank you, commissioners.
Well, before you leave that, why would the county administrator bring up a proposal from one town to the commissioners?
Because if there's a move to a user-based tax format that is going to have a detrimental effect on county government.
Well, first of all, it's a state law that would have to be changed.
Yep.
Not just some funky
Right.
thing that the commissioners think that they can control.
Yeah. So
Do
his,
they think they can do this by county, or do they?
apparently that's what they're looking at, and there are state laws, there are other states that have this law. So it's not, although we don't have it in Maine, there are some models out there for other states that are doing something similar.
And most of those states have, guess what? The county runs everything. Mm-hmm. Towns have very little to do.
So, definitely something that's another thing that we're gonna have to keep our ears open for.
Is this legislation specific to a contract deputy? Or does it allow the municipality to say, okay, we don't want this particular thing, we want our own police department?
It was a thought that was thrown out, and I don't think that they've developed it any further than that at this point. So, and I mean, because the conversation was related to the no-cop towns, I think what they're looking for is 8 towns that don't have their own law enforcement that are at a certain population would have to contract a deputy. So something that we'll need to pay attention to on that. John has had additional conversations with Barry Tibbetts after the budget committee took the vote not to support looking at a work group, and Barry said that in his opinion, if not all the communities were on board with doing this, it was a dead issue. With that said, the 12-town group last night did still take a vote to communicate to Barry that we would not be interested in pursuing some type of a work group, and it was a unanimous vote of everybody that was here for the 12-town group last night. So now you have the York County Budget Committee and the 12-town group that have both come out and said the municipalities are involved are not interested in this. So hopefully that'll squash that at least for a little while.
So, but with Commissioner Dutremblow's asked the commissioners to look at, really is not what Barry's after.
No, Barry wanted, his original proposal was that the no-cop towns fund 100% of rural patrol.
And just by forcing somebody to have a contract deputy, that doesn't do that.
Right. And then that morphed into looking at a completely user-based
Right.
tax system, just because you can't
Can't pick one thing.
pick one thing. So that's kind of where that rests for now. I'm sure that, we'll be hearing more from the commissioners. We'll have to pay attention to that, and certainly the next time that we run into Aaron or John Tuttle, we should probably, bend their ear a little about it.
In the discussions, how does forcing municipalities of a certain population to have a contract deputy, how does that solve the problem of the cost of all the other services that the larger towns don't want to pay for now?
It doesn't.
It's just
It
another
doesn't.
wrinkle.
It's a shell game.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes. Next, we talked about the governor's proposed budget and the devastating effect that is going to have on municipalities. Everybody, if you didn't get it in the email, you should get it in the mail, the legislative bulletin that'll be coming out for this week. You're going to want to read this. This has a lot of great information on it. We reviewed this last night, so I'm not going to get into all of the details on this because you'll be able to read it yourself. But basically, what the governor's proposal, the impact that it is going to have on the state of Maine municipalities in fiscal year 14 is over a $17 million hit. And that was just York County. 17 million in York County, 17.1 for fiscal year 14, and 17.8 for fiscal year 15. That's just the municipalities. That doesn't include the impact to a homeowner's taxes, because they're going to be losing circuit breaker and homestead exemption. So then that increases the value of their home. So not only are they then hit by the increase, for us it's over $600,000. I mean, we're looking at roughly a buck on our mill rate. So you figure somebody's going to have an increase in their mill rate of a buck based on just the municipal. Then the governor's proposal also includes that the schools will be responsible for all of their teachers' retirement benefits. So now you've got a major hit to the schools that's not even included in this number here. And then you've got the hit to the property tax owner because of the circuit breaker program and the homestead exemption going. This is going to literally cost people thousands of dollars out of their pocket. And people just we can't afford it. People just cannot afford that kind of a hit. So the York County delegation, the advocacy group is going to be meeting on February 9th at 10 a.m. and the 12-town group said it would behoove every elected municipal official to be at that meeting. The last advocacy group meeting we had, I believe, 23 delegates out of the 25. So this is an opportunity for York County Municipal elected officials to talk to our delegates and tell them that the governor's proposal is unacceptable.
When is this?
It's on February 9th. It's a Saturday morning at 10 a.m.
Where?
and it's at the old jail, which is the York County Government Building,
When now?
February 9th.
The old jail on Route 4?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just put that on our list of dates to follow, Christina, would you?
One of the suggestions was really to make sure that citizens recognize what this impact is going to be, because we do have problems with people just aren't paying attention to what's going on in government, and they don't understand what this means. So, like John was suggesting, this legislative bulletin this month that really explains things well. Maybe municipalities could put that on their website so that people can go to the website and read it, because it is pretty comprehensive, explaining what the governor's proposal is. And the other thing that municipalities have already started doing, particularly the ones that are already in their budget process, is they're looking at what is this hit going to be to them. We're going to lose the excise tax for the commercial vehicles, and that's going to go to DOT. So if we took, what part of that is going to be Waterboro excise tax, and how would that impact our road budget? So some of the municipalities are really getting down deep into pulling this apart and laying it out so that they can put a newsletter together for their residents so that they can understand, okay, here's generally what it means, but then on a more local level, this is what the impact is. So, I don't know, Nancy, if that's something you've kind of looked at all.
Yeah.
That might be a good tool to put out. Then the last item was the York County public hearing. The York County budget public hearing is tomorrow night at 6:30. John is going to make a proposal that the county government be willing to forego the changeover in fiscal years for 1 year because of the governor's proposal and the impact that that's going to have on municipalities. Changing over to the fiscal year is also going to have another significant impact on municipalities, because you're going to have 2 county tax bills that are due in that year's period. So he's going to propose that the county commissioners be willing to forego the change over to fiscal years until we have a better understanding of what's going to happen with the governor's proposal. Millie Tuttle from Dayton was saying that she has already spoken to Dan Cabral, who's the county commissioner that also happens to represent us, and pretty much got laughed at when she told him, what an impact it was having in Dayton. And he said, don't worry about it, and in a year you'll forget all about this.
This is from the same commissioner that wouldn't even respond to our request to meet with him.
Oh, he can't come in on Tuesdays because he has other meetings to go to. That was the reply I got from him. So there were several municipalities last night that said they are planning on attending the meeting tomorrow night, and they are going to get up and ask the commissioners during the public meeting to consider the proposal of delaying the changeover of fiscal years. Some of the towns are even going to write a letter from all of their board members that say, we'd like you to wait another year on this fiscal changeover.
They've already borrowed the money. They've already got the money in they've had to. They're into the first 6 months of the new fiscal year now, the 6-month fiscal year. So, be interesting.
So anybody that's interested in that meeting is tomorrow night at 6:30. And last thing on my selectmen's report, I understand that Jack Siri has a milestone birthday today and turned 75 years young. So I just wanted to send a happy birthday wishes to Jack.
Happy birthday, Jack. I know you have many more. Okay. The only thing that I've got is the Eco Excellence award. We did kind of peruse the opportunity to submit Willis's name. He has won that award in 2007, so I know Bridget had requested that, so if Bridget's listening, we probably will not pursue that at this point. That being said, we do have until tomorrow, actually. Lynn told me today, probably Thursday, to submit a candidate. And my discussions with Clinton is maybe we can do the school. We just need to grab some of the statistics that they've done to supplement but the initial put of nomination, we don't have to get into a lot of details, so we'll see if we can get that done. If we don't make the deadline, we just, go a year without, but. Okay. And just so everybody knows, Maine is, you all know there's a lot of talk about what happened with M.R.S.A, it's now closed. Casella is working diligently and has now opened the transfer station where they're going to handle 1,000 ton a day of rubbish at their county road, outer county road, or Route 22 as I call it, facility in Westbrook. Naturally, their sale of M.R.S.A to the city of Biddeford originally was contingent on the state changing the rules up at Juniper Ridge. That kind of got pushed off because the legislature did not take that action, but they have asked, Casella's asked the DEP to open up their permit or license and allow them to dispose of household waste at the Juniper Ridge landfill.
Is this the one in Old Town?
Right. Which Casella manages for the state. It's owned by the state. That's just like a two-step backwards process, just so everybody knows. There was a long since been a strategy in this state to, at a very last resort, bury rubbish in a landfill. And the proposal that I think will be heard once the hearings come out is they're going to drive that rubbish from Westbrook up 95 to Old Town, and they're going to pass 3 waste-to-energy facilities that are more than capable of taking that capacity. So you may see a lot of interest in that as it goes forward, but remember that the folks that were trying to get rid of M.R.S.A are advocates to see Casella get what they want. So it'll be an interesting discussion. So.
Now, didn't the sale not go through because of contaminants at the
Sale is done. I think there are some things that Casella is responsible to clean up, but the $6.5 million is a done deal, and the payment is like a $10 per ton fee extra, right? So if Saco delivers to Casella at $50 a ton, Biddeford is paying $60 a ton, and the $10 goes to pay up $6.5 million in purchase. So, I don't know, it's a pretty convoluted process, but. And the concern at the last Maine meeting, we spent an inordinate amount of time listening to the legal guys again on flow control, because now that the Casella's facility is 2 miles away from Maine facility, the cost of getting rid of commercial waste may become competitive again. So. They're very concerned that if municipalities aren't controlling their flow control, that they may need to step up that activity. And that's all I've got. Nancy?
Working on the quarterly reports, I did notice, and I've sent a request to Julie to do a couple of journal entries to kind of clear things up. Still working on the budget. I did prepare the snowplow contract extension, and I forwarded it to Foglio Inc. for their review. So, and Aaron Libby called just before I came in. He says there's not much to report. The public hearings on the supplemental budget will start tomorrow, and his committee, the Energy, Utilities, and Technology, has only been conducting orientation. But at this time, there's really nothing going on.
So
until
that's the
tomorrow.
only committee that he's on?
Mhm. Yes,
Anything else, Nancy?
that's it.
Okay, new business, discuss setting budget meeting schedule. So I guess, I'm gonna get a calendar out and when do we have to, I guess the date we have to have this to the finance committee is when, March 7th or something? I'm going from memory.
I didn't bring mine.
So is there any interest in starting this on, Thursday evenings and Saturday mornings or something of that nature? We set a couple of hours the next couple of Thursday nights and maybe 3 hours on the next couple of Saturday mornings or something, and
Yeah, I think if we got a couple Thursdays behind us, those chunks on Saturday are more efficient.
Yep.
We get to know the budget more.
So if we're looking at 24th would be this week, or do you wanna
Wait till next week.
wait till next week? So we start on the 31st. I think if we do the 31st, we ought to meet on Groundhog Day.
My wife's
On a-
birthday.
on a
Big
second.
danger there. Big danger.
And maybe 9 to 12 or something, if everybody can. The following week is that advocacy thing, right?
Right.
What time you wanna meet?
6.
Dave, you gotta come back down from,
Right. 6
Six.
works for you, or 5:30? I can be here by 5:30, but
5:30 work?
5:30?
Now, did you say the 24th or the,
No,
this,
31.
no, start
31.
31st? At 5?
5:30.
5:30, okay.
Get a couple of hours done. And then the second Saturday, everybody or the majority of us make it from, we'll say 9 in the morning to noon on Groundhog Day,
What day was that?
Saturday,
Yes.
Saturday,
Saturday, what date?
February
Second.
2nd.
February 2nd,
Groundhog Day.
right here at the town hall, right?
Yeah, right in this room, and then
That's the
we would-
9th, is it, or
the second,
the 2nd? Okay.
and then we would meet the 7th.
What time?
Let's do 9 to 12.
Okay.
That gave way everybody is. I think last time we never really get going until 9, even though we tried to get here by 8, so. And then we'll do the 9th. Oh, no, the 9th is that advocacy
That's
thing,
the
right?
advocacy group, yep.
So we'll, let's get the 3 dates under our belt, the 31st, the 2nd, and the 7th. See where we are.
The 7th?
7th is a Thursday night.
Yeah. And again, that's at 5:30?
Yep. That works for everybody, that's at least the
Very good.
start. And again, realize that, we all might not be able to be here, but I think we can cover the things that need to be in the absence of anybody. Okay? And I'll just, why don't we keep this on the agenda under old business, Christina? Just budget schedule. And if we gotta revise anything, we'll do it on a weekly basis under old business. Plus, we haven't had old business in a long time, so I need something to do. All right, schedule the second quarter review, since next Tuesday is a pretty open night for us. My suggestion is we do have an executive session early with with RSU directors, so, if we could do, pardon me, the meeting, the quarterly review after our little business that we have. And we'll go from there. And there's no one reporting next week, correct, Christina? So I wouldn't think that it won't take much more than an hour to go through it, so we ought to be able to do it right during the regular meeting.
Is that gonna be department heads invited too? Or?
Yeah. I would say everybody that has a piece of the budget. And I think you and Christina put the sheets together and everything, so.
Next
Make-
week.
Yeah. You can have a representative come for you,
Oh, okay.
somebody on your committee.
My son of staff member. See this?
One of the 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
I think Nancy can speak for you. All right, anything else on that? Everybody cool? All right, item 3.
I'll give you a copy of your report.
Discuss vote to approve the contract with the town administrator. This is not back from the attorney. So the best we can do is approve pending any attorney review, and if there's any significant, we'll just bring it in the next week again.
I would move that we accept the as written, the contract as written, pending a recommendation from our attorney.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
Okay, any discussion? There have been a few little tweaks, just so you know, some of the dollar figures on the money changed, so I think did everybody get that email? Or did you just send it to
I
me?
just sent it to
Okay.
you.
I'll make sure, but it was like $19 or something, so. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Discuss the vote to approve the contract for the IT manager. That is back from the attorney. There were a few little tweaks. I do have a note from David that he has reviewed it and is acceptable to him. So, what's your pleasure?
I'll move to accept that
Second.
contract is written, and
Any
with the tweaks.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? No old business. Other warrants and bills for payroll?
Mike.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Minutes of the January 8th regular meeting and the January 15th regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Pending decisions are on the list here. No real significant change. Week's action list. I think we're all set there, Christina. Got everything that we discussed here, which wasn't a whole lot. What do we have this consent order to sign?
Yes, just need to write in the amount of, right in the yellow folder in front of you.
Okay, all right, so we can write in the amount, he'll have to
Yeah,
come.
just a blank line
Alright.
for the amount.
Yeah, I'll let you write that in, and then somebody's got to initial it, I would presume. We'll see. So, items for next week, we'll keep it pretty bare unless something comes up, because we're gonna do the review. We're gonna carry over the budget review meetings to, we won't have one yet, but we'll at least keep the dates on there. All right, items needing signature, warrants and bills of payroll, minutes of the January 8th and 15th meetings, reminders, Old Home Days Committee meeting Thursday, the 24th at the Old Town Hall, Library Board of Trustees at the library Thursday at 7 p.m. At the library, cribbage tournament is this Saturday at 8:30 in the Old Town Hall. There will be garden committee, community garden committee in the Old Town Hall on Monday the 28th. Transfer station committee will also be meeting in the Old Town Hall next Monday at 6:30. Selectmen's meeting back here next Tuesday night. No reports, but we will be doing the quarterly review. February 2nd, which is Saturday, 2020 committee will be having a 10 o'clock session at the South Village. It will be at the Massabesic Lions Club at 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And then following that at 2 p.m. at the Free Baptist Church in Route 5 in Waterboro, the corner of Bennett Hill Road. And there'll be discussions on the East Village. And from what I understand, the first couple were fairly well attended and a lot of good input.
Location is different from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, the location is different than what's on the agenda. Okay, sorry about that. And then Tuesday night the 5th, we're back here, and we've just scheduled a couple of budget committee meetings in there, but some budget review meetings in there. So, anything that I missed? Sensing none. All those. I need a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
because of the potential confusion from what was presented on the agenda and what you read in terms of where those meeting locations are, could we have something posted on our website to make sure that people know?
It is. It's on this document, and this will be in the papers
Okay.
this week. Okay? Which has the right. The only thing that was wrong was the agenda. It was really a carryover. The places were the same as the last listening sessions, and we're talking about two different villages. All right? I'm waiting for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you and good night.